program, kids are they're thinking a lot more. They're not waiting for me to tell them the answers. I don't tell them how to set up their circuits. I don't tell them how to approach a problem. I give them a problem. I say, work together. Where should we start? And so the ISEC program is all critical thinking. We're no longer just saying, read it and restate it for me. Read it, restate it for me. ISEC is nothing like that.
Being able to express themselves and what they know, I believe helps them through that problem solving and through that productive struggle. And of course, you do have to throw those probing questions out, which I believe only help them build that critical thinking skills within themselves.
Students are not just confined to, this is something you do at school. They're having an understanding that this is something with their real world, and they're making connections, and they're observing the moon and sharing information about the clouds and with their families. And
the conversations that they carry on don't only go within the classroom, like they're carrying it on in the lunchroom. They talk about it outside in the playground. If it's an experiment that they really enjoyed, then they talk about it for a couple days.
You can see them making this connection with the outside world, which is what we want them to do as learners.
So engaging in higher level questioning and thinking, it allows them to gain that confidence that yes, I can engage in these higher level activities and questions, even if I am 5 years old or 10 years old.
Taking a really complicated phenomena that I think a lot of adults might have a difficult time explaining, and to be able to somehow see a 9 and 10-year-old having this insane conversation about trying to make sense of how to explain an electromagnetic field. And absolutely, I mean, higher order thinking skills just popping off right, left, center. Without collaboration, the program wouldn't work. The success of the investigations is working together, and then working together with a small group.
They learn best when they're working together in groups, like productive, what we call learning communities in the learning sciences. So they're learning from each other, and relationships are very important, and conversation going back and forth, testing out ideas.
We try to get together in a whole group, and we're like, okay guys, this is what's happening, so what's happening if we connect this to this?
It's like fun work because you get to talk with your group and stuff like that. And what you do is you work as a team, and it's developing team skills.
They have to work together. Students have to learn to work together, and it creates an atmosphere where they're not competing with one another. They're on a level plane, and everyone has something to contribute.
This is a great model for education, because when we get out into a career setting, we have to know how to work with people. If they have a team that they can say, hey, what do you think? Then they feel more comfortable and they participate.
Science is a time for them to collaborate with one another, ask each other questions, talk about their observations and things like that. So it does create that buzz, and it's something that you can hear and something that you could feel because of the excitement that students are expressing through their learning.
They talk in a positive manner. What did you get for this answer? Oh, did you remember to capitalize? Did you remember to label? What gauge wire are you talking about here? So they're asking the questions that they've heard me ask, but it's in a positive manner.
Because I think it's a powerful way to teach and a powerful way to learn. And it puts onus on the kids to help teach each other. And it's not just one person, the teacher, being the only one that can teach. It's learning from each other, really. Without being able to work together, I don't think you'd have anywhere near the same levels of understanding.
Well, what I've observed in terms of the program and students is they are so excited about learning and learning science. It's fun for them. They love it because they are given the opportunity to explore.
Yeah, it's not like with most programs, it's just get a book, read these questions, answer them. It's hands-on, like we get to do experiments and actually learn how it works.
I like the science program because you're doing it more hands-on.
They're touching the equipment, they're learning how to read the ammeters and the voltmeters, and so it's very exciting that it's hands-on, and the kids are having fun.
We now know that the kind of learning that really sticks and becomes integrated into people's way of thinking and being is learning that lights up all of those parts of the brain together.
An ISEC classroom, even though it's noisier, it's productive noise.
I would describe it as probably one of the most exciting opportunities to see wow factors go off in kids. To hear, and I think you even heard today, just some screams popping up in the classroom when they start really figuring it out on their own. You might not have as many skills as you would if you were allowed the chance to dive in and make mistakes and learn through those mistakes and scream when you have success. Engineering is all about creativity, and there's a big focus in the curriculum through ISEC to not only foster but to enhance and encourage engineering and encourage creativity.
With the ISEC program, we're basically bringing the art into science. They're drawing the schematics, they're coloring the schematics, they're adding the details.
And so they play. This is a wonderful lesson because the students are about to engage in a play session is what they feel like they're doing. And then we start talking about the really intense concepts of what the lesson entails.
Learning as a teacher is fantastic because you have the support there. As a science teacher, as a learner, you're not learning something that you would be implementing at a first grade level. You are pushing yourself, learning material as a scientist, as an adult. And it's very interesting to be in that role because it also sheds light on what it feels like to be a student. And sometimes as teachers, we can forget that. And so being a learner really makes you sensitive to what your students are dealing with. So I just feel like it's been fantastic.
We have probably 7 experts on site, and we tend to really help each other out and are willing to teach each other and learn from each other and make mistakes together and share ideas. And I think good teachers always sit there and go, gosh, maybe I missed an opportunity there. But your toolkit gets bigger and bigger the more experience and the more professional development that you have. And so you're able to kind of have more ideas to pull from.
Usually you're handed a book and told to figure it out. That is not the case with ISEC. There's all kinds of support. All I have to do is pick up the phone, and there will be somebody in my classroom or somebody talking me through any activity that I need extra support with. I don't feel like I'm alone in this process. I have lots of support.
With this teacher leader cadre where there's basically a core group of, I want to say 40 to 50 of us teachers from all across northern New Mexico. What's neat is that whole group are expert teachers, like amazing teachers, but I would say every single one of them would say that they have room for improvement. And I think that's what's neat about that group is that we kind of push each other to get even better and to share that expertise with others. And we kind of want everyone to have the same opportunities to just have this amazing core of science teaching growing and growing. And even more importantly than science teaching, science learning. Just try to push each other to be better at what we're doing and just increase the quality of science education in this area.
When teachers engage students as intellectual beings, I think there's a whole cultural shift because students feel more confident, they are empowered, and they're more risk takers. So I think it's all a very positive shift.
If teachers internalize this process as far as like guiding students through inquiry and then making meaning, they can learn to go through this process as well in other content areas. For example, with math, if you pose a math problem and then have students explore it with manipulatives and try to figure out ways that they might attack this problem, because there's not always one right way to do things, and they need to be allowed and affirmed that that's okay, that there's not always one right answer or one way to do things, then they can create that collaborative learning and that constructivist piece where they have the autonomy to be able to make meaning of any content area.
I can solve a problem one way, I can solve it another way, and it does not matter as long as I arrive at the same answer, the correct answer. And I have a team to help me because I'm trying to teach all of my classes with this inquiry approach. How would we solve this problem? Where should we start? So it's affected all of my classes.
Building positive culture in the classroom also is very important to me because this is where they are most of their day, and they need to feel comfortable in their learning environment and feel safe in that learning environment, and safe in their mistakes and safe in their knowledge. And so I teach them. Mrs. April makes mistakes as well. So I tell them, if you find me in a human moment, please let me know. Being human to a student is probably one of the best things that I've taken away from this program. Learning that we learn together is a wonderful experience.
Cooperative learning has blossomed in my classroom. It's always been a strategy that I've pulled out every now and then. Now it's a strategy that I use in all subjects with all grade levels. I teach 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade math. The students are more relaxed. They don't hate math anymore because I'm applying what I've learned in science, in my science lessons, into my math lessons.
We've thought of kids as having empty heads, and that we need to open up the empty heads and pour in the information and then give them lots of reinforcement so they'll remember it. That's a theory of learning that by about the 1960s or 70s, we've learned may be good for things like potty training toddlers, but is not so great if you want kids to be real thinkers and investigators and to work with being able to apply knowledge to problems in the real world, problems that might be different than the examples you were given in the classroom, but that you've learned it in a way that you're flexible with it, and that your brain can then recognize the patterns in what you see that's new with the patterns of what you've learned about your science understanding, and then be able to apply it. That's one reason why many people in the business community are very excited about inquiry kind of science, because they more and more want people to work for them who can solve new problems, who can take knowledge and apply it in new and different situations. So this is really, not only goes back to how we've known for 100 years that children learn well, but it's very appropriate to the kind of 21st century learning skills that more and more we're learning that they need to have.
Teaching in northern New Mexico, this has really equalized the playing field so that schools where there might be more low socioeconomic students attending that school, they are being provided the same opportunity, which is fantastic.
Being in a rural area like this, you're not exposed to a lot. And so we don't have a lot of like extra subject or content areas, I should say. Like we don't have music, we don't have all the extras. So it's also about bringing in things that kids wouldn't otherwise be exposed to.
I think that families just want the best for their children. They want them to learn and to succeed. And I think this is a vehicle of one way of providing that.
So there's been a long search for what are the kind of standards that would give us the very best instruction in classrooms. Paper and pencil, fill in the bubble kind of tests, really can't tell you very much about what children know and are able to do in scientific thinking and scientific problem solving. So the next generation, the reason why they're called the next generation standards is that they're intended to encourage and support inquiry science and different kinds of assessments so that you actually get to see kids' performances in doing science, not just fill in the bubble tests on science. I think what's wonderful about the next generation science standards is it talks not only about what are the facts and concepts that children understand, but it also talks about how. How do you think like a scientist?
The kids really relate to science because we're in a, like I said, an agricultural community where we have acequias, where we have, a lot of us farm. A lot of the students grow their own foods. So having a program that is research-based, that really allows kids to interact with the content or the materials and then applying it to real world, I think maybe that's what kind of engages the students at a different level.
So we tend to give low-level, fact-based education to kids who we think are struggling. And when we think kids are doing just fine, or if they should be thought of as intellectually gifted, then we give them this active, engaged inquiry kind of learning. We have it upside down. It's not that kids who are doing well shouldn't get inquiry science. They definitely should. But so should the kids who come in with the fewest conventional basic facts and skills. So that the idea of giving what could be thought of as a gifted curriculum or a high status curriculum for privileged kids is through inquiry science, giving that to all kids. And the impact on both the quality and the equity of the education they get is just dramatic. It's one of the best things we do in northern New Mexico. Now, inquiry science, unfortunately, is not going to solve all of the social and educational problems that come with poverty and discrimination and the way our state so neglects its children. But it does stand out as a shining light of something that we do right.